Oi kids, Slackerkite here. Welcome back to The Binding of Isaac. Let's begin. Last time we beat Mom, we're going to continue, and we're going to talk now about... So we've talked about basically how The Binding of Isaac is pretty awful game and probably is about a kid slowly suffocating to death inside of a box. Which is just the most bummer.
But, yeah.
But you know what it's not? It's not hatred.
So we watched the gameplay video of Hatred before this because TV Dinner hadn't kept up on this, let's say, and why should he? It's awful. Who wants to see this?
It had nothing to do with pornography or comic books. Why would I know anything about it?
To be fair, this was also the first time I saw the actual trailer. The one I saw was the second one we saw, the First Person Lover. So that's what I was expecting at first.
Yeah. I shared, as soon as I saw that, I shared that around for everybody. Like, I have to share this with people.
First Person Lover, it makes me happy that that exists in the same world that Hatred exists because...
Yes.
You know, you can look at The Binding of Isaac here and say this goes too far. It's pretty brutal, and you're not wrong.
It is. And yeah, you're not wrong. And for some people, it really does. We've discussed that.
So where is that line then? Because we all had the same reaction when we watched the trailer to Hatred. Yeah.
Here's where I am potentially going to be vilified about you guys. I'm not sure. How is this any different from how people play games like GTA? You know what I mean?
Okay,
because people go out of their way to kill pedestrians and hookers and do all that stuff, and that is not part of the gameplay at all. So I feel like it's just instilling us to do that. So in a way, I'm almost not as disturbed by it.
I was talking with Kite about this after he introduced me to the whole Hatred thing, and I've never been a huge GTA fan. I've always preferred the Saints Row games because they have the tongue much more firmly planted in cheek when it comes to like the killing and gang related aspects of their little universe. The difference to me between because it's more apparent between games like Saints Row and Hatred. I can definitely see that it's that how you could say that that basically just looks like GTA without the pomp and pretension. I would say the difference is that you can play. GTA gives you the ability to be as awful as you could be in Hatred, but that's not the only thing in GTA.
Oh no, agreed.
I would say that makes all the difference. The fact that GTA, you can choose to play as the characters, you can choose to be silly. I have seen people choose in GTA to try and just obey all traffic laws and drive around. In Hatred, from everything we can tell, there is no option like that. The game's point is to
just kill as much as possible. From what I
exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say Joan. I would say that's the biggest difference between GTA and Hatred.
And I want to tell a short story here because I'm more of a GTA fan, while TV Dinner is Saints Row, and I think Saints Row is a little too silly for my taste, but there was...
Yeah, you're the minority here.
Yeah,
so,
I am the minority amongst the group.
I don't know how you could possibly see wandering around in assless chaps hitting people with a horse dildo baseball bat is silly, sir. That is the gangster life.
But Grand Theft Auto, there was one mission, like Grand Theft Auto 3 was my first, mature game, yeah, I guess I had played Doom and whatnot, but calling Doom mature is... no, that's wrong. But there's one mission in Grand Theft Auto 3 that I couldn't play the game anymore for a week after I played it. The mission is that one of the people that you offed didn't die. he still is around. And you have to find the guy and kill him for reals this time. And when you explode the ambulance that he's in, out falls a guy in a full body cast. And you have to blow him up inside of his full body cast while the police are trying to chase you down. And somebody thought this was a good idea. And after playing that mission, I couldn't play for a while because that was too real. And I think one of the defining things about Grand Theft Auto is that it is very unreal. Like, the people, when they die, they fizzle out into nothing. They don't really leave anything behind. There's so much about the game that you play it, and it's like horror movies, in that in the sillier horror movies, when people die, yeah, there's like giant blood spurt and then they're dead. But that's not how people die. And you watch a trailer like Hatred, and you see people slowly dying, pleading for their lives. That's not the Grand Theft Auto experience, except when it is.
And that's more the point I was trying to make, because I've seen people, my brothers even, they will play GTA, and then instead of doing the missions or whatever, they'll start fucking around and just killing people indiscriminately. Now, obviously, the animations and the reactions are going to be different, but it's still sort of the same premise, and that's, I guess, where I was coming with that. Like it's just giving a reason to kill indiscriminately the game. That's really all that this seems to be. And I kind of liken it over to Modern Warfare 2, the No Russian level, where it was just sort of kind of artistically half-assed. And I feel like that's almost what this is. It's half-ass artistic.
And I guess I get what they're trying to say with it-ish, but I don't... It's almost like I don't want to hear it, which is weird for me, because I always want to hear the other foot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I will defend to my death Grand Theft Auto, and especially I think, like, San Andreas said an awful lot of important things. It really did, because here was a guy who is hounded by the cops, who just... and they completely screw over his life, so he screws them back. And I actually play Grand Theft Auto, oddly enough, because I like the storylines they put together. I'm in the minority of people who play Grand Theft Auto because I think they put together masterworks of story. I think San Andreas and Liberty City and all of that, they're wonderful little worlds that they've put together, and there's so much creativity that they put into that. But then to play a mission where you're literally just gunning down people for the sake of gunning them down, it makes me uncomfortable, which is hard to do.
See, Hatred is not a game that I would play because it's, again, going back to No Russian, it's a game that I wouldn't, it's or at least a level, that I wouldn't really be interested in. But at the same time, I could see the appeal of just kind of releasing that sort of fuck it, I just want to kill everything for the sake of it and have a go at it. At the same time, I'm also hoping that some of those animations of people, like you were saying, slowly dying and pleading for their lives, like that maybe will hopefully get people to think and be like, huh, I didn't think about this when I was, fucking around with people in GTA. I don't know. I don't know what people's reactions will be. It might just be, oh, I get to shoot this guy, ha ha ha, I don't know.
And if that is your reaction to it, then I think you might be dead inside. Just legitimately dead.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, is the point of it to sort of tell you about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, because I know in high school I had Doom for the original PlayStation, right? And I played the game as a stress releaser. Like, after school, when I was stressed out, I would play a game of Doom. And that was fun for me. Like, just, gunning down these things, and they are just things in Doom indiscriminately. When you're killing people in like Grand Theft Auto, you don't really think of them as people. You may say like, yeah, I drove over this old lady, which, and it's where I can start to see that whole question of where is the line, right? Because you're literally talking about running over this old lady and how funny it was. Well, that sounds pretty awful.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I guess where I'm coming from with it is that I don't agree that I mean I don't like this content, but at the same time I don't want it to be censored from people who do want to play this content for whatever reason. That's I am uncomfortable with it being censored just because it's in bad taste. If that was the case, we wouldn't have a lot of the games and movies and media that we have. It's to me that's bad form to go, well, this offends me, so I'm gonna prevent anybody else from enjoying it or from getting something out of it. Not that I'm saying that this is what we're saying. It's just that's some of the argument that I'm seeing, and I'm like, I don't agree with that.
Well, it reminds me a lot of the iOS port of Papers, Please, where they asked to censor the part where they scan the people and they have to be naked for the scanning, and they said, well, we can't have nudity in our game. But also, iOS has a bunch of movies full of gratuitous nudity.
Yeah. So, like, what's the... Like, where's the difference here? Why are you deciding here that it's not artistically merited? You know what I mean?
Because it's a video game, so we can't have nudity in here, and the nudity in the game is there. I mean, it's... Oh, that was good. Sorry. I was actually playing a video game for half a second.
Da-da-da.
But the nudity in... there is nothing... You will never see the nudity in Papers, Please and go, oh yeah, take it off. No, it's belittling the human condition.
Yeah, it's dehumanizing.
Right, it's about
like
context.
a lot of Papers, Please. Sorry.
Oh, to you.
But it's different. Yeah, but it's different context. It's you're not going to get a lot of that in games like Hatred or in maybe in certain parts of GTA. See, I'm more of the person who plays Saints Row because I feel like that puts sort of a funny spin on somewhat serious issues and things like that, and it takes the piss out of itself, which is something that's fine to have in a game. But I also understand the seriousness of what you're saying, Kite, as well.
And see, I don't want the funny spin. I want the visceral to actually to feel what the person is feeling. And when I play Saints Row, I definitely don't get that feeling.
I no, and Kite, that's completely understandable as long as it's understood that hatred is the logical conclusion of that.
And I absolutely get that. And watching that trailer makes me feel dirty for every time that I have enjoyed playing Grand Theft Auto. It kind of does, and for half a second, I go, was Jack Thompson right about me?
But here's the thing, though. I mean, let's look at some movies in this situation. I mean, yeah, people will be against movies that are just about killing indiscriminately and evil and bad guys and all this shit. But it's still an expression of media. I mean, people might protest movies, but people are still going to see it regardless because that's their kind of right to. And I don't feel that Jack Thompson is in any position, because otherwise he would have to ban all sorts of media just because it offends him or because it's in bad taste. I think that's sort of a bullshit excuse from higher ups to police what people are engaging in.
No, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, finish.
That's just pretty much the gist of it.
Well, and here's my thing, right? I'm sorry to cut you off here, but so much of what Grand Theft Auto really pulls from is Grand Theft Auto, Liberty City, or whichever one was in Miami, pulled so much from Scarface, which is
Vice City.
Yeah. how do I have two? Okay, never mind. But it pulls so much from movies like that, and it's very obvious with those parallels that it's trying to make between these amazing movies. Like San Andreas played so much to the black gangster movies of the early 90s that spoke about the actual human condition, and there is a lot of that in Grand Theft Auto games. I feel it's Grand Theft Auto 4 really was about what it is to be an outsider in the United States. And these are things that I wouldn't get to experience otherwise. So, I mean, yeah, it says a lot to me, but I also understand where other people are coming from and go, huh, so you're shooting a lot of people, and that makes you feel good? No, it doesn't really make me feel good, but I understand where these guys are coming from on a level. You're not supposed to like them.
TV Dinner, you were saying something. And...
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off.
I can't even remember now.
Well, see, here's the thing, right? Like, a game like Hatred, I will probably never play, only because that shit doesn't appeal to me. Killing people rampantly, innocent civilians, that doesn't appeal to me. However, that being said, I can also understand why some people would play it and enjoy it. It's not my cup of tea, but I wouldn't want my delicate sensibilities to prevent other people from playing something that they might enjoy, be it just for the random killing or just for whatever message behind it. On the flip side of that, you know what game offends me more? Fucking America's Army. That game offends me more than I think Hatred ever will. Because it's just fucking blatant jingoism and uses like an army recruitment tool sort of thing. Like that pisses me off more. That I wish we had never released. You know what I mean? Like that's
a lot of people feel the same way about the Modern Warfare games, and I can definitely see their points there. What I was going to bring up was I was speaking with a friend before about censorship, and you were talking about Joan, the visceral nature of a lot of the content in games like GTA, and Hatred as well. And the thing about violence, in media, because we were talking about Scarface and other movies, is that I've had this big problem with PG-13 violence since I was a younger man, since the whole PG-13R would have actually mattered to my movie-going experience. And it's that you can say what you want about Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a movie or a franchise or whatever, but compare that to something like James Bond, where James Bond PG-13, fun for the whole family, yada yada yada. When you shoot someone in a James Bond movie, they just fall over and they're automatically dead. Doesn't matter where you shot them. There's no blood. Don't worry. You won't have to deal with the actual physical and the actual real world
consequences of death. Yeah.
Exactly. So say what you want about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but they're honest about what happens when a chainsaw goes in a person.
Right. And that's a thing too. Like GoldenEye, the 007, they kind of gloss over all that sort of nasty shit that he does because he's a good guy, he's suave, he's debonair, this and that. So what if he kills kind of indiscriminately? You know what I mean? Like that's
bad guys. Cool.
Yeah, he's killing the bad guys. Let's kill the bad guys. Absolutely. Death to all of them. Go America.
And Joan, and this is actually a question for everyone. Yeah, England's just full of supervillains. But didn't we have this whole conversation about mass killing? It feels like we should have had this whole thing like when Postal came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we kind of did, but Postal did sort of have more of a tongue-in-cheek quality to it. So I guess we're okay with rampant murder as long as it's silly.
I have questions about using the word quality and postal in the same phrase because that is...
that's fair.
But it's the fact that, I feel like there are equal or, there were comparable games that already exist out there. And maybe not to the extent that Hatred is going, but there are some that are close, and people have not gotten as much in arms that I've noticed. I understand like Ben Kuchera's response to the trailer and everything else, but it's like, have you seen some of the other games that you played, Ben? Like, and you kind of just was like, oh, this is fun. You know what I mean? So it's like,
No,
people are on the high horse, and I'm not sure.
absolutely, and absolutely. And is it? But we have to address why that reaction is happening, rather than just like the whole bandwagon. I mean, is it because hatred seems to revel in the meanness, rather than the absurdity of the actions? Because with Modern Warfare, you can make the argument, I think, poorly, because like most of those games are just like justified murder, the game.
Yeah.
Right.
And Assassin's Creed, you just go around literally assassinating people.
Yeah, and I mean that is the point of the game. You are an assassin. You murder. That's what you do.
You're an assassin. I
Kinda
believe
says that
there's
in
a creed
the title.
involved.
Yeah. So here's the thing with Modern Warfare, though. Like, Modern Warfare, I mean, you can basically say it's jingoism, the game. Like, Britain's great, America's great, and whatever. And one of the things that they ham-fistedly did was, and I mentioned it earlier, and I'm going to say it again, was no Russian. No Russian was sort of the thing where you had to, quote unquote, go through an airport and kill civilians because you were supposed to be a double agent for the Americans working for the Russians. Here's the thing, though, you never had to actually kill a single civilian. Like, you didn't have to shoot them any. And what they were trying to do was trying to see like the players' reaction to all this and whether or not they would actually go through with it. And it doesn't really work as an artistic statement, namely because you could choose to skip the level. But at the same time, I think they tried to make some sort of point with both player agency and how people sort of approach that kind of sort of nasty vilification of people.
Joan, would you say then that I'm sort of guilty of the same thing I'm accusing people of Binding of Isaac of then, where I'm just my own biases are making me sort of miss the point about that, at least that instance in the game, in the No Russian. I'm not saying that all of them are completely meritorious, but
right.
Is that something like Binding of Isaac where, at least in this instance, I'm missing the point when it comes to, their statements on player agency? Is something interesting trying to be said there? Or is it, like you said, completely undercut by the fact that you can skip it?
See, I don't know. I would argue it's possibly undercut. I mean, some people, like when I talk to other people about this, other gamers, they will turn around and they will say, well, I just want to play the fucking game. I don't care about the, the quote-unquote symbolism or what they're trying to say, blah, blah, blah. Which is totally within your right, which is fine. And I don't, expect a lot of people to walk away from Modern Warfare 2, one, to even play the single-player campaign, two, to get anything out of it other than, oh, okay, we defeated the terrorist, yay. But at the same time, I feel that there is some sort of message being said there. However, again, ham-fisted because it's fucking Infinity Ward and Activision and whatever. And they're trying to put across some sort of point about treating about treating human beings and how players react to situations and it's. I really don't have a straightforward answer. I'd have to think about it more, to be honest. I guess is where I'm going.
And
with this.
I don't know if there's
a lot of
straightforward answer, right?
Yeah, I don't think there is a completely straightforward answer on most any of it. I think people who have watched our stuff realize at this point that we'll ramble and we'll say things, but rarely are there totally.
Rarely are conclusions drawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think
which is kind of
They're
fun at
mostly
the same
quarter.
time because like, games are sort of a work in progress as a medium itself.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting to see how they develop. And again, I want to stress that Hatred is a game that I will very likely never ever touch. The statement is trying to make, and from the trailer and stuff, it looks appalling to me. I really don't want to play a game where you're committing what was it, like a genocide? Like that's.
At least until we do our full no damage long play with the what are we hating for?
No. That will no. That's when I quit YouTube. That video will be the last video we ever make.
You ever make by yourself?
By myself, because no one is joining me on that trip.
Yeah, that would be your swan song, sir. But at the same time, I feel like those sorts of games should have the right to exist, because even if there wasn't a market, that freedom to express yourself however, in my opinion, shittily, should still be there.
You know, I think it was, you know, Neil Gaiman who said, like, if you believe in free speech, you have to accept the eventuality that you're going to have to defend the indefensible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm that's not saying hatred is wholly indefensible. There's worst. I can find 9 worse things on Newgrounds in 15 minutes.
And not even that, but games like Rapeplay and games where you're just, you know, like raping people or killing people. I mean, there's other games that are out there that are as you're saying, like as reprehensible, if not more so. This is just doing it in a pretty package.
Yeah, this is all pre-packaged. Just this is ready for you to, and it wants.
And is
visceral.
the disgust? Well, I mean, is the disgust and discomfort the fact that it looks like any other game? Is that a component for a lot of people's discomfort with hatred? That it looks nice, that it looks like, because it looks like it has fluid controls and graphics. It looks like it has a pretty neat overworld map. You know, a nice kind of blending of environments and the third person angle.
Am I wrong? It's a Unity engine, right? I think it is.
No, it was Unreal.
Unreal. And we've all played games in that engine, and it looks like every other game in that engine. It's
eventually we're going to need to like have a video where we can talk about game engines, because I've tried to explain like the idea of game engines, and I am very not a technical person, but I am interested in video games enough to understand the concept of an engine. But explaining it to friends and acquaintances who are less involved in the video gaming sort of world, I have discovered is very difficult.
I don't even particularly understand all of the engines out there, and this, you know, computers is my bread and butter.
I think it'd just be interesting to talk about the concept of engines, the history of some of the most important ones.
Oh, fair
why
enough.
they're important, why they get used by different groups. I think that'd be real fun for people who are boring like us.
Yay!
Yay, fellow boring people.
But so the Binding of Isaac.
Oh yeah, we're playing this game, aren't we? I had almost forgotten.
I think there's a difference because people, I can't really agree with the argument that the Binding of Isaac, quote unquote, goes too far in the same way something like Hatred apparently does. Because God damn it, if you make something subtextual, if you make aesthetics part of a theme and kind of an underlying philosophy like Binding of Isaac does, even if it's gross and even if it's weird and even if it's going to be misinterpreted like I think it is 9/10 of the time, including my interpretation of it, I don't care how gross or weird you are at that point, you've kind of earned it in a weird way. It's kind of like, are any of you guys familiar with Norman Mailer at all?
The name sounds familiar.
Ish.
He's a writer. He's written some weird stuff and he's actually been cited. He's been cited for obscenity, and like he took a lot of exception to it. And there's one book where he wrote a lot about fucking, and he changed out all the words for genitals with the names of Supreme Court justices. The phrase "throbbing Rehnquist" came up, and it was great, so great. The thing is, sort of like when And it's so pretentious. Like, when you're this amount of autistic, you can be this amount of offensive. But there is kind of that quality. If you've got something to say, and the best way you know how to say it is fucking weird, like Binding of Isaac weird. Because, like, looking at this game right now, it makes me uncomfortable. It weirds me out, but I'm glad it's saying it the way it is. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Open the fuck out of that chest. Oh, damn it. Why did you do that?
What have you done now?
And this is where he finds a chest and decides to throw himself in it. And... one of the characters you unlock from doing that is Eden, who gets just random stuff on Generation, but you have to spend a token to play as Eden. And that's what that's kind of alluding to. But also, that this is the point where Isaac starts to dream of his own secondary entities. That's at least what I take from it. Now, Ed may, like, he'll never watch this video, I'm sure, but he may have, like, completely... I may be missing the point entirely. But that seems to be the point, is that, you know, after all of this trouble with Mom, and Mom is clearly not dead, even though the Bible fell on her head and stopped her from trying to kill him, he's now thrown himself into this box where he is dreaming of all of these other things. What an upbeat fucking game.
You know it.
We're so happy.
And we'll come back with a third video on this, I believe.
Yeah, we'll be back for part 3 for our conclusions, and I don't see us beating the game, but hey, let's come back for part 3.
You know, if Northern Lion couldn't do it in how many videos, I think we're going to do
All
it
of
in
them.
3.
All of the videos.
He has done 220 videos on Rebirth so far, and he hasn't unlocked everything yet.
Also, you need to click the Imager link I showed in chat.
Okay. Sure.
It's brilliant.
You could say that it's great.
Oh, wow.
Bladder.
Yay.
Yeah, we're not doing 220 videos in the motherfucking Binding of Isaac. I will shoot myself in the head. I will shoot myself repeatedly.
And you will cry tears.
How would you shoot yourself repeatedly in the head? That's kind of a one and
fully
One
automatic
would,
weapon.
one would kind of do it.
Yeah, one and done. One and done.
Duct tape.
That's not how it works.
Look, motherfucker, I have engineering background. I'll find a way.
You do that.
You have an engineering background?
Computer engineering.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's his desktop.
Yeah, dog shit.
Look, my diploma says that I'm a scientist. I have that framed, motherfucker. It says I'm a scientist right there.
Yeah,
You can get a lot of things framed.
Technically, I'm ordained in more than one church. Do you really trust me with spiritual advice? I have a piece of paper.
I'm going to...
Let's step out before we start the third video.
Cigarette break?
You fucking know it.
Alright, I'll join you outside. Lady, gentlemen, we'll be right back.
Milady.
Milady.
Martax.
You motherfucker. I was taking off my headset, and I heard that. Go on outside now. I'll be right back.
Boy.
Yeah.